Jibi, I think Jibi, can you hear me?
മാം ജിബി മാമിന് എന്തോ കേറുമ്പോ എന്തോ ഡിസ്കണക്ട് ആവണമെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിരുന്നു.
ആണോ? ബട്ട് ജിബി ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തതായിട്ടാണ് കാണിക്കുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ, അനുവിന്ദ.
Yeah.
We'll wait for some more time, or another 5 minutes.
Yeah. We'll start by 5:10 maybe.
Okay.
While we're waiting, could I maybe interact with those who are already here and sort of ask them what they expect from the event?
Yeah, sure. So some of our participants have joined. Yeah, Anvinda, she's a link, student link leader. So Anvinda,
okay.
Perhaps you can coordinate. Ma'am would wish to hear from you all.
Please call me Ardra. Please call me Ardra, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So those of you who have joined, you can interact with Ardra. So this is a good opportunity for all of you to interact.
Yeah, please, feel free to ask me any questions. And if there's anything in particular we can talk about today, then happy to sort of start with that. This is a nice, cozy number of people. It's not like 50 people who, keep going in and out because of network issues. So this is probably the perfect size. And if anybody wants to, give me direction, I'm happy to take it.
Actually, we had called for registrations and we got a very huge number of 108. So that is why.
Wow.
So
fair.
We want. That is why we thought we'll wait for some more time so that let everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sure, absolutely. I'm glad to wait. It's just that I know it's called building a successful career, but is there anything more specific that I can talk about? Is there, any sort of tips that you want to share that I can sort of use to structure my? Also, Christina needs to be admitted. I'm sorry, I'm just seeing the requests as well. So
We'll deal with that. I think maybe a few of us would have this question of, how about our career, like during COVID, or maybe like so maybe you could discuss a bit on that. I mean, how the workplace would be changing and how exactly we'd have to, maybe if we have to go for some other skills that, like some particular skills, since we have this COVID hitting, the pandemic hitting us. So maybe you could discuss a few things on that throughout the session.
Sure, happy to do that. However, I have to warn you that I am by no means an expert on this. So I can only tell you my ideas and my experience. Feel free to ask as many questions as you guys want. And could I also get an idea of who's attending? Is it engineering students?
Yeah, we have mostly engineering students only, undergraduate students. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that's very useful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's helpful. Thank you very much. I'll use that to structure my interaction. And I keep saying interaction because it's, you guys have probably sat through many classes online now. So I don't want to just talk at you to maybe your icon or your profile photo or even your video. Thank you for the two people who are on video. Oh no, Srividya left. She's back. Okay. So so feel free to jump and ask questions. When I used to do this live, as in face to face, if it's a smaller group, we'd usually just sit around in a circle and talk to each other, which is, I think, more useful than me being like, oh, let me tell you the ways of the world, which I don't know. Anyway.
Right.
So give me a heads up when you guys want to start. Happy to start whenever. Just let me know.
Can we start now? I think maybe Srividya can take up and we'll start the session. I guess it's already 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think we can start. Okay, so
Go on then.
find out what you like doing best and get someone to pay you for doing that. These are the words by Catherine Whitehorn. Good afternoon, and on behalf of IEEE Kerala Section, I welcome each and everyone to today's session, organized as part of Women in Engineering Day celebration by IEEE India Council. So many people might have known that they what they wanted to do when they grew up as a little kid, and it ended up working out for them really great. But that is usually not the case. So a successful career takes a lot of building, changes, and learning to create. So this building starts as a young kid and then really flourishes when one gets to the college. Or for some others, they believe that leading a successful career. So today we have with us Ms. Ardra Chandramouli, who is here to share with us her thoughts on building a successful career. So without further delay, let's move on with the proceedings. First, I cordially invite Dr. Meenakshi K, Chair, IEEE Kerala Section, for the welcome speech. Ma'am, please.
Yeah, okay. Good day to all. So, building a successful career, that's a dream of every individual. So, as Ardra has previously asked, we have most as the students doing the undergraduate course who have joined here, and after doing your graduation, usually your main aim is to go behind hunting for building a career. So previously, what we have to, building a career means we have to seek in for a job in a good private sector company or a public sector company. That is how we go on hunting for building a career for us. But now things have changed, even the government policies have changed. If you have a good desire to take up challenge, if you have a good technical know-how, and you can dare into building your own establishment. So we are fortunate today to have with us Ardra Chandramouli. She has an entrepreneur herself. She is also in a bio. She has specified that she is an entrepreneur researcher as well, and she would like to share her views with people who, especially women who would wish to come for this area. So we are fortunate to have her with us as the speaker. On behalf of the We Kerala section, I extend a very warm welcome to you, Ardra. And I also welcome all our student members who have joined today for this particular program. We have our SICOM members, GB, the V Secretary, and also Deepa, the V Vice Chair, who have joined us. And without much delay, let me welcome all of you once again. Thank you, and over to you, Srividya.
Thank you, ma'am. So the speaker for today's session is Ms. Adra Chandramouli. She's a biotech engineer, entrepreneur, and entrepreneurship researcher. So she has been a TEDx speaker and an invited speaker at the Today Conclave 2016. So I now invite ma'am to enlighten us. Ma'am, please.
Thank you. That's a very large order to enlighten you. I'll try my best. Um, I think Srividya actually covered in her welcome speech most of the things I'd been meaning to say about choosing a career. So thank you for that. She's given a very good synopsis of my interaction. um, I guess I will start with telling you a little bit about how I got to be a biotech entrepreneur. Um, I don't think that this was something I'd planned on doing at all from a very young age. I don't know how many of us have had that privilege, but of the people I know very few people who knew what they wanted to do when they grew up as children, you know. There are a few people who wanted to be doctors or who wanted to be rocket scientists who have made it, but the vast majority of my colleagues and the people that I've interacted with usually stumbled upon their career, especially in India. And I know that it's a it's a difficult path from, I'd say, 10th standard onwards to when you're finally in your first job, when you finally start working, get your first salary. And that period is usually filled with a lot of people telling us what to do. I don't know if you guys have the same experience. I'm much older than you are, I think. So at least 10 years by my calculations. But yeah, things have not been easy for me as an aspiring grown up, I would say, in terms of decision making, in terms of choosing my path in life, in terms of understanding what I want to do. And this is how my journey looked. Initially, I wanted to, and I still do, if I could do it at some point of time, I would love to. I wanted to do my bachelor's in English literature. And obviously, being in Kerala with parents who are very much cautious, I was told to select something which is in the professional sciences. So either become a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer, something that gives me a ready-made job after I'm done. So my second choice was biotech because I've always been interested in genetics. I've always been very, very excited about microbes. And I was like, I will do biotech engineering because I really do not have the capability to be a doctor. I do not have the patience. I do not have um, the manakarithu, let's just say, to be a doctor because I cannot be responsible for people's lives and well-being. So that made it easy for me. And I started my BTech. If you guys have, again, if you guys have experienced something similar, then please feel free to agree. 4 years passed by really, really quickly. I still remember, and this year is the 10th year since I completed my BTech. So I still remember 2007, I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. And by 2011, I still had no idea what I was doing, but I was officially an engineer. So that was a surprise to me as well, even though I had technically chosen my field, I had done my degree, I had participated in, more or less in the activities we had at college. So, and then came the $1 million question of what job can I get? Where can I work? And I was very, very interested in being in the life sciences, but maybe in a management role. Because one of the things that I did know growing up was that I wanted to start something of my own. I put that in quotes because I genuinely wanted to start a greeting card company or a library. Those were my top two options. So I have still not started a greeting card company. I think I was a little behind times. I don't think the Indian market is great for greeting cards right now. But the library I still have hope for. Hopefully someday I can at least start a small library for kids or adults or both. Yeah, so that's what I had in my head. And at the end of BTech, I was a qualified biotech engineer, and I was interested in management, interested in managing, interested in people more than becoming a researcher. So I knew that I wanted to go into industry rather than be a full-time researcher doing, pharma research, microbiology research, environmental research, anything of that sort. So I knew what I didn't want. This has been a common theme throughout my young adulthood and my adulthood so far, where I was like, that doesn't fit me. That doesn't make me feel comfortable. That's not something I want to do day in and day out for. And this is how I used to choose. And this is how I still try to choose my career, which is, would I want to be doing this for at least 30 years? And something I bring up in my interactions with young engineers or engineering students is basically, how long did you spend thinking about which undergraduate degree to select? Usually people say, again, these are questions that I'm happy to have answers to. Please feel free to unmute yourself and answer if you want. Do you remember how long you thought, for how many months or years you thought about which degree, or which, even after 10th, which main subjects to take? Is it physics, chemistry, biology? Are you going life sciences? Are you going computer science? Are you going, whatever? So the answer I used to get, and I haven't interacted with younger students recently, was at least 2 years. They've been thinking in the 10th standard, at least 1 year, or 9th and 10th, to select their major for 11th and 12th. And then they have the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th to prepare for their undergraduate degree, which is around 4 years. And then how many years have you thought about what exactly you would like to do, and how many years of or months of research have you done into it? How many people have you spoken to who have done this decision making, who have chosen a career that you are interested in? I'm sure that at least our parents, if not we, spoke to somebody who had selected engineering, somebody who had gone to a particular tuition center, somebody who had, recommended a particular crash course for our entrance exams, at least. I'm speaking to engineering students, so most of us have been through the entrance exams, I imagine. And how much thought do we put into selecting and refining our idea for a job, our employment? And the answer is usually the last year of college, the last year and a half of college. So we're technically spending about 1 to 2 years thinking about what we're going to do for 4 years. And then we're taking a year and a half max, if not a few months, to think about what career to choose. And that career is something we'll be doing for at least 30 to 60 years, maybe, or that will be the direction we choose, sort of, which strikes me as something's off there. Something is not great in that maths, right? So my first lesson from my journey for building a career that we are interested in is to be aware of what you would like. Many people, I cannot tell you how many people have asked me, what should I select? What masters should I select? Which country should I go study in? What company should I apply to? And my answer to this is, I don't know you that well. I've only interacted with you a couple of times. You tell me what you like. You tell me what you've looked into. You tell me what your interests are. You tell me what you would hate to do. And you tell me what you would ideally love to do. And if you have had that conversation with yourself, you don't need to be asking me what to do and where to go. you would probably be asking me, how do I get there? You know, how do I get into this degree? How do I get into this company? What is the procedure? How can I fund my higher studies and so on? So the first crucial element for me is to understand what we want, is to understand what our values are. I know this sounds a bit cliche or a bit Instagrammy, but to understand what our values are, because we need to understand what we can accept and reject initially. So that's step one. And the second step is active choice. Active choice in terms of the course you've selected, active choice in terms of the masters you may or may not do, active choice in terms of your personal life decisions. Do you want to do a PhD? Do you want to start a family instead? Do you want to start a family and then choose a PhD? Some thought into the process, just sitting with yourself, especially in the COVID times. Something we have plenty of time for is just to sit still somewhere and think, because we're trying to distract ourselves. At least I'm speaking for myself. I'm trying to distract myself with a lot of YouTube and TV, maybe because we have so much time that we probably used in going out, commuting, doing other activities which are not available to us right now. So this is a good time to take some time to get in touch with yourself, your ambitions, your likes and dislikes, and Google what options are there. So if I like microbiology, I would not probably start with in engineering. During engineering, I would have searched for microbiology jobs, but now I would start with probably latest news in microbiology, latest trends in the microbiology, environmental, industrial, pharma sectors. And I would also probably think about, where is microbiology applied that I know of? Where is this thing that I am interested in being applied in real life? And when I interact with life science students, I usually say, we have applications in food, in pharma, in uh, condiments, in extracts, in cleanup, water remediation, medicine, which is separate from pharma. We have medical devices. So there are a lot of drug discovery, of course, clinical research, and so on. So there are a lot of options. We first need to know what our field is applied, where our field is applied, and where our knowledge is applied. So I'd probably start with a Google search of, okay, this field that I'm currently equipping myself with knowledge in, this field, what's happening in it, what's the latest, which countries are appearing most in the news. Are they in the news for research? Are they in the news for products, for services? Are they in the news for breakthroughs? And if so, which are the institutions which are being cited in those news articles? And look at those websites of those institutions or those companies or those, consultants, whatever, those individuals. All of this information is usually available online. So just a little bit of research into it will actually pay off big dividends, as far as I understand. And once we do that research, then we have sort of a map of where to go and what to look at. And I'm going to give, again, a life science example for this. So if you're interested in going to food biotechnology, or food manufacturing or process plant technology or process plant automation. So all of this so far covers biotech, covers mechanical, covers electronics, and some electrical engineers. So a few of the engineering types that we have usually are covered here. And if you're going into food manufacturing, look at one of my friends who is now a civil engineer. She was very, very interested in working for Cadbury's, the company. And she was just like, I just want to go work at a plant where, chocolate is manufactured. I can't think of a better way to use my engineering skills. And now she is working as an effluent engineer, civil engineering, and then, effluent process plant design, I guess, effluent engineer. And she worked for Cadbury's, and now she's moved on to bigger and more widespread food manufacturing company. So it can be as simple as that. And again, for life science students who might be interested in food biotech, I usually say go into a grocery store, go into a supermarket, and any food, any biscuit, any fruity fruit drinks, any manufacturer is a potential employer for us. So it's about probably taking active steps to recognize the opportunities that are around us, to recognize the opportunities that we can easily look into, and also the avenues, the ways, the people, the network that can help us get there. Now, first one was understanding what we want at that point of time. And I'll make it apparent why I said at that point of time. I'll make it clearer. Second is looking at what's in the world around us, looking at the options in the world around us. And the third step is active pursuit of that thing, actively talking to people. How many of us have LinkedIn profiles? I hope that's all of you guys in the audience. I'm sure everybody has a Facebook profile, but similarly, every one of us should have a completed, presentable, professional LinkedIn profile. And if your LinkedIn profile is not up to date, I would highly recommend making sure that you have that done first thing, so that when you go and speak to people, when you go and approach them and invite them, when you want to connect with people who are in positions that you want to be in someday, then they kind of can go through your profile and be like, oh, okay, this seems interesting. I might be able to help this person. And they will be more likely to accept that invitation. And when you send an invitation, if you're trying to connect with someone like a professor or a professional or a mentor, or even somebody who's a student in a course that you want to try out, I would write a quick note with my invitation to say, I am such and such a person. This is why I would love to connect with you. Would you be willing to speak to me about this thing? And actively pursuing your interest. I wouldn't say your passion, because your passion might not be related to something you want to do professionally. It might be something you want to do as a hobby, or in your time off on weekends or something. So your professional interests, your career interests, definitely try and build a network of people who can advise you, who can give you tips, and try to do it with the previous steps done, which is understanding what is there in the market, understanding what you want, so that you can ask more specific questions. Does that make sense? Again, please feel free to, if you don't want to unmute and ask me questions, you can always write in the chat. I'm happy to read out from there and answer. And I would say the next one would be to apply. Another part of the title of this program that I'd like to address is building a successful career. So success is something that is not prescribed. It should not be prescribed. I completely am against saying success looks a certain way, because we're all different. We all have different interests. We all have different requirements from different things in life. Some of us might want a pay rise, a job, a pay rise, a promotion every year, 2 years. Some of us might define our success as that at a given point in time. Some of us might want a 9 to 5 job where we are secure and comfortable and have a thriving family life, which is not exclusive of a thriving professional life, I would like to underline. We might want none of this. We might want to be a gig economy player where we go from one type of work to another type of work, or one position to another, and learn as much as we could. We might want to be creative professionals. So whatever success means is defined by us, or should be defined by us. If you can probably see the common thread in all of my steps so far, it would be about being agentic, which means being intentional, thinking about what you want, taking action. At least when I grew up, I don't know about you guys now, but when I was growing up, when I was in college, or in school, the later years of school and college, in the initial years of my career, I was very much conditioned or tuned to receiving advice from outside and taking my decisions according to other people's advice, or at least other people's suggestions. So I unfortunately, again, do not subscribe to that. I would have never started my company. I would have never continued running my company. I would have never pursued my interest in research and and getting a PhD, hopefully, if I had listened to people tell me what to do and when to do it. I'm not glorifying being disobedient in any way at all, but it wasn't something that fit me at the time. I got placed into TCS in my final year. My entire family was very, very excited, and they were like, oh my God, you have to obviously get some work experience, try and try it out for 2 years, try out a job for 2 years, which I agree with. Actually, professional experience is definitely useful, but it wasn't an industry, it wasn't a company I wanted to be in at that time. So unfortunately, I had to convince my family, my parents, and sort of tell them that this is why I do not want to pursue my initial career in the company that is TCS. Many of the people who were placed along with me have gone on to have very successful careers long term in the Tata group of companies. But it wasn't for me. And I genuinely don't think I regret it. I might have regretted it a couple of times when I was like, whoop, well, now it's up to me to find a job that I want, when I didn't want the job that I had. So it was a bit of a, but also, I think, well worth it. It depends on, again, I was lucky in that I did not need to support my family at that time. Both my parents were still working. So I was lucky and privileged that I didn't have to do that. I had the privilege of being like, I can choose, I can wait, I can, this is a decision I can put off making, that of selecting a company. I had the luxury of being like, I want to find something that fits me. Wasn't easy. I was under tremendous pressure that I put on myself when everybody who graduated with me was in a job, and 4 years later they were earning multiples of what their first salary was. And I was at that time building my company, started my company, built my company up. I was 24 turning 25 when I registered the company, and we started working towards establishing it. being an entrepreneur was something else that I had to sort of convince my family, especially my parents, about. Both of them are bankers, and they were both asking me financially, where do I see myself in 5 years? Which is a very good question. There's nothing as good as having your own spending money, as not being dependent on somebody else for your expenses, at least your expenses, which I don't have to tell you guys, you probably already know. But for me, that was another active choice that I had to make, going from being slightly independent and able to take my own decisions to being like, I have to give up that financial security to start this company, which is going to create a lot of financial insecurity for at least the first 5 years. So I had to tell my parents that this was not a phase, and this was not something that was as popular. Starting up, building your own company, becoming a startuppreneur, entrepreneur, whatever it is, was not something that was as popular then, because we didn't have any support. Kerala Startup Mission did not exist then in its current form. So it was something still very risky to do, and had much less support to do then, especially in the first 3 years of when I started up, which is probably for a biotech company in Kerala, started by a young female entrepreneur who did not have any idea what she was doing. Maybe not the wisest decisions, but again, the decisions that fit me, fit my values at the time, fit my worldview at the time, and this was something that I wanted to do for myself. Again, it's not easy standing up for yourself, especially in our community, where we have to make sure that the people we love and respect are also happy, if that is something we choose to do. And there's a lot of external pressure, there's a lot of internal pressure because of that external pressure. And again, what helped me through all of my decision making at different points in my career was coming back to what I wanted, coming back to what fit me, coming back to what I felt was right for me. So again, the first 2 or 3 steps that I described taking, which was sitting with myself, knowing my likes and dislikes, and seeing what's out there for me and sort of matching myself to that very actively, was very, very helpful for me. And now the final step. So define your success, choose your path, research your path before you choose your path. Wait, I'm going backwards. Check in with yourself, see what you want. Check in with the rest of the world, see what's happening. See which are the options which are best fits for you, and take the option which is your highest preference based on all of the considerations. Financial considerations, personal considerations, family considerations, whatever it is you want to prioritize, do that and select the best option out of all the options that you have. Follow that and define your own success. And if there comes a point where it doesn't excite you anymore, this is probably a more controversial thing that I'm still working on for myself. If there is something in your career that you would like to change, or if it is a career that you want to change completely, then it's not easy, because we probably have reached a point where we are comfortable in the career that we've built so far. B, I hope this is not relevant for you guys for the first 4 or 5 years of your career, for the next 4 or 5 years at least. But there may be a point in the future where this might come in handy for you. So I'm going to give you like a very proactive heads up, and a very early heads up, and say, if there's something you want to change about your career, and if it is something that you have recognized as doable, and if you want to go back and do all of those steps that we talked about, check in again. And I'll give you my journey as an example. Year 5 of being an entrepreneur, things are going well, but also I'm tired of working multiple hours a day. I'm not nowhere close to any of the superpower entrepreneurs who can work from 4 a.m. to 9 p.m. or whatever it is. I don't subscribe to that again because I will die. No joke. I will definitely just crumple up into a ball of dried human husk, and that's it. I won't be able to function anymore. So year 5, lots and lots of work. I'm still enjoying it, but it's getting very, very difficult to find the energy for it. And I felt gutted because I felt this very, very, very sad and destroyed, because this was my dream, right? Building my company, doing something that I wanted to do, doing something that I believed in, um, being in the environmental field, which I've been passionate about for years. And then suddenly I'm like, I can't do this anymore for the long term without taking a break. But how can I take a break? Because it's my company. You know, that feeling of hit. And I had a really tough year and a half trying to figure out how I can still keep my company running while also nourishing myself and my professional interests and my growth, my personal growth, because I felt I reached the maximum of the learning that I could learn from starting up and from building that company. And now I needed to learn from other people. My company needed fresh eyes, fresh perspective to grow to the next level, which I didn't think that I could teach it. So I usually use the metaphor of a baby. My company is my baby. And the first few years, great, I can take care of my baby, but then it needs to go to school. It needs somebody who's better at teaching it to become a bigger, better, stronger, more self-sufficient company. And I knew that I was not a teacher for my company at that time. And I wanted to gain the confidence for it, the skills for it. But I also wanted to make sure that my company had the best options that I could give it, if that makes sense. So then I went back to, what do I want to do? How can I make this happen? What are my options? At that time, so 2017, 18, 19, I was trying to also have a research tie-up with a UK university for wastewater remediation technology, research in that area. And we had spoken to a couple of universities. We had signed a non-disclosure agreement and an MOU, a memorandum of understanding with 2 universities. And I was traveling back and forth at least once a year, if not twice a year, which is also expensive. So my thought process was, okay, I want my company to go from, we were at that time almost exclusively in soil remediation and soil remediation agriculture products. I wanted to branch out into water as well, which is a pet project of mine, which is definitely also needed by the world in the market. So I was trying to make, that bridge, and I was trying to sort of make that bridge that gap, as well as search for further opportunities for growth, both for myself and the company. And this was what I came up with. I've always wanted to do a PhD. Well, not always. Ever since I did my first master's, I had wanted to do a PhD. Did I say masters? Masters. Anyway, I had wanted to do a PhD, and I was like, I want to do my PhD. We're trying to set up a research collaboration in the UK. We're almost there with it. It's expensive for me and for the company for me to keep shuttling back and forth. Does it make sense for me to pursue a PhD while I'm also setting up a UK presence for my company? Maybe. And then I looked into that and how to make that happen, because my company is still very small. It can't fund my PhD or anything of that sort. So, and then I was like, you know what? Everything sort of meshes together, fits together well here. I applied for a funded PhD. we finalized the research collaboration with the University College London, the university that I'm with right now as well. My research is in management and entrepreneurship and gender, because I was a reluctant spokesperson for female entrepreneurship when I started the company. Now I'm a very vocal spokesperson for, gender, entrepreneurship, equity and equality. So that was my interest. That meant that I could pursue my PhD, push the research collaboration forward for my company. I have a team that I trust who have been doing extremely well, who have been equipped to run the company by themselves. They don't they don't need me, which is fabulous, but also was very, very anxiety inducing initially, where I was like, they don't need me, my company doesn't need me, my baby doesn't need me, who needs me? And that soon turned into, oh, I have this much free time and space to do something that I can grow in. I can become Dr. Radha Chandramouli soon, and that will really help me as well as my company as well as my network. So this is how I've always approached life, in a way, where I've been like, how, no matter how weird or wild or wonderful it is, or no matter how much other people tell me that this is not a great idea, if I feel convinced that it's a decent idea, if I've done enough research, if the people that are important to me, whose opinions are important to me, are convinced by my arguments or by my presentation of the things, then I usually go ahead and do it. I usually try and make a way to make that happen. And hopefully I'll continue to have the courage to change and to find opportunities and to build my own skills and competencies and knowledge, as well as help other people do that as well. I have a question from Arundhati. In case you wish to pursue a career different from your domain of study, how to do so without a professional degree in that specific spectrum? Well, that's an excellent question. If you're convinced that you want to do bioinformatics after electronics, start with an online course maybe of the basics of bioinformatics. Try and do an unpaid internship, part-time internship, where you can understand what it looks like to work in that field. If you've done that already and you're convinced that this is something you want to pursue full-time, figure out what are the opportunities you have that you can apply to without a degree, and where in the world such opportunities exist, or who accepts online. Well, now who doesn't accept online degrees, because all of our degrees are online, isn't it? So try and get certifications online, which you can do with much lower investment in terms of money and time. And and just keep pushing, keep swimming, like you're Finding Nemo says. Just keep doing what you want to do, and you'll figure out a way. It genuinely is out there. It's only for us to find. It's kind of like Google searching, all of the information is available through this search engine. It's only when we are interested and we put in a search term that sort of throws us those results that we're like, oh shoot, there was this much knowledge out there which I wanted to find, but I didn't know about it. So start looking, start talking to people who are in bioinformatics, ask them if there is a job that you can, try, intern at. Can you be their assistant? Can you follow them around? So shadow them around for a week. Some people are going to be like, what is wrong with you? And some people are going to be like, sure, cool. Keep trying till you find those people, and see if we can at least set up like a mentoring session with them online. Be like, can I please for half an hour speak with you about this? You are amazing, and I will learn so much from you. And, can you please just help? And yeah, so network, speak, be active about it. If you really want it, you will get it done. And just keep trying, keep going. Does that make sense, Arundhati? I know it's not a very specific answer, but in my experience, it is the most effective answer. And if you have any further questions, or if you want to be connected to anybody in bioinformatics or something of that sort, if I have any connections, I'm happy to sort of be like, X meet Y, I mean, X meet Arundhati, please see if you have any synergy. Perfect. I'm happy that I could help even a tiny bit. And I think we have 6 more minutes left in the hour. So I don't know if you guys have more questions, if you'd like to hear more about something in particular. Also, just about pursuing one thing. I really wanted a PhD. I applied to UCL School of Management. I wanted a funded PhD. They had nobody in my field, so they kept passing me around from one professor to another, or one potential supervisor to another, when they were all like, I don't know how to help you. I don't think I can help you. And I didn't know what a PhD looked like from the inside, only what it looked like from the outside. And finally, I just kept asking people. And finally, a senior professor was like, you know what, fine, convince me that I should take you on and you can come on the program. I can see if we have space for you. So I never expected that to happen. Weirdly enough, I'm like, how did I trick them into, a bit of imposter syndrome? But I'm really proud of myself for having kept on trying, even if initially it would have been easy to be like, oh, you know what? No, it's fine. I'll apply next year or never. But it was worthwhile. It was worth it. So do keep trying. Do keep pestering people nicely. Don't stalk them. But do keep going back to them and politely asking for another chance, opportunity, or whatever it is. Any other questions? 5 more minutes, unless you guys have something else planned. I'm just going to try and fill the silence with until someone asks me something or not. Anything, guys? Again, feel free to unmute, unveil yourself, come on video. Feel free to message. And we have more people coming in and out. So yeah, Srividya's back. So I feel like this is conclusion. Good.
Hi. Hello.
Yep.
Yeah, I just had a doubt regarding entrepreneurship in general. Like, consider if you have an idea and then you want to implement it, and considering the entrepreneurship as a career domain, having a team is really significant. So it is, I've heard a lot of time that having a startup in college is very great, because even if you fall down, you still have a course to which you could fall into. Like, you're not really failing. It would be a great experience. But consider a situation where you do not really have team members, or you do not really have people to start a company with. So in such a situation, how to find the right people, and if it is someone external to your network, or outside the people whom you are personally connected to, how to trust them with something, like you have addressed it as a baby. So how can you trust that with a baby?
These are excellent questions, and thank you very much for them, because these are excellent questions that I learned the hard way as well. I started EKA with my my batchmates, my classmates from undergrad, from engineering. Initially, we were all in it for the excitement, I think. But I think after a few months in, all of us realized who wanted to stay long term, who didn't want to stay long term, who enjoyed it, but it's not really their cup of tea. And we rebuilt the entire team. I rebuilt the entire team because my co-founder also, we both sort of had a discussion, and we realized that going forward together was not something that either of us was interested in at that time. And she was more interested in probably something that didn't take up so much of her time, I'd imagine. And it's a huge commitment, Arundhati. So you were right in saying that it is a career path, but it's also a huge commitment in terms of your interest, your passion, your energy, I describe it as sort of being the engine and the fuel. If you're an entrepreneur, you're powering this dream of yours, this venture of yours, but you're not only powering it, but you're also burning yourself to fuel it in a way. So it's definitely something that takes a lot of patience, which I never had before Eka. I genuinely never thought that I would. Also, Shruti has asked me a question. I'll come to your question after this one, if that's okay. So choosing the right team for me was trial and error. Trusting them as well was trial and error. Initially, I chose the people that I trusted who were friends to start this with. But our interests weren't aligned for the company. So we were like, oh, okay, fine. Restart, refresh. And the second set of people that have been at Eka were there for a job. So we went from people who were there as co-founders, as people who were there for the startup experience, to people who were like, no, I believe in this company. And not to say that the founding team didn't believe in the company, but I want to work for this company as an employee, as a source of employment for me. And that team, we were happy to say no to people who didn't want to be there for the long run in a very difficult environment. Building a startup from the ground up isn't easy. Doesn't matter if you're the entrepreneur or one of the first team, member of the first team. Even if you're an employee and paid by the company, you're still partly entrepreneurial, at least to the extent that you want. So my CEO right now, she joined Eka as an intern, and she built it up with me. She's somebody who when she finished her internship, I asked her if she has any feedback, and she was like, we should probably focus on marketing. And it took a lot of guts for her to say that, because she was my super junior at college, and she wanted to work in the biotech field, in a biotech company. And she sort of chased up. She applied 8 times, if I'm not mistaken. It's either 7 or 8 times to the company. Initially, we didn't have the lab set up, and she was still applying the first 3 times. And I was like, lady, can you just wait until we're done? And then when we actually had an opening, she applied, and she persisted, and she had things to say, and she had ideas she wanted to share. So probably in answer to your question, Arundhati, I would say trust the people who seem genuinely interested and who seem to be having the same view or vision for your company as you do. Even if you don't agree with them, if you're able to have a respectful, sincere, open conversation with them, I would probably say that they're a good fit, at least to try out. And always have trial periods. Always have a 6-month trial period where you're coming in. Both parties have the time to make up their mind whether they want to be there or not, whether you want to have them, and whether they want to be there. So we always have a 3-month initial internship for freshers who are joining, and then we have a 6-month or 8-month probation, and it depends on your performance. So everything is linked. If you're contributing, you can become an associate, you can become the production or research lead, you can become the head. work your way up. Have the processes set. Go out and see which are the companies. I was very fortunate again because my first job was at Thermopenpal, which is a Trivandrum-based biomedical startup. And I was able to work with the ED, who's the brother of the founder, the executive director at the time. He has been the CMD now. He's retired from the company now. I had the opportunity to spend time with the founder as well, and also just to spend time with the founding team, the initial set of people who worked for the company, who have stayed with the company, and also the culture that they have built into the company. So your baby, coming to Shruti's question, how do you ensure your baby is still yours? And combining that with Arundhati, your question as well, how do you trust them? It takes, again, I know I keep saying this as though it's a magical potion, but it takes some time for you to sit down and think. The first things I did for my company were have a small notebook where I wrote down the short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals for the company, the mission, vision, values of the company. And this has changed multiple times, at least 10 times, if not more. But having that blueprint and understanding what I wanted for my company, what I wanted for my baby, my team, my colleagues, my, whatever it is, understanding what I wanted, first of all, was very helpful for me in trusting, in changing my mind on trusting people, or in, changing my mind on distrusting people, liking or not liking what they were doing at the company. And also, my baby is old enough to stand on its own 2 feet now. And if I can't let it fall and do its own mistakes, make its own mistakes, do its own things, then I'm not so much a mother or a founder as I am a micromanager. So again, it was my growth. It was something that I had to learn how to do. And I had, obviously, I was very sure about my team. I trusted my team, but I didn't think that I was indispensable, if that makes sense. I didn't think that my company and my team could do without me, and they've proven me wrong. So that's a hard pill to swallow, but a good pill to swallow as well. Does that answer you guys' question? Have I just rambled at you?
Yes, ma'am, it answers. Thank you so much.
Perfect. I'm glad I could help. You're very welcome. And Shruti, how about your question? Are you happy with that answer?
Arja, hello. This is Shruti here.
Hi.
My question was really into the legal parts actually. So how do you ensure that it stays your own company? That's it.
Oh, well, legally it's easy because it's a company. If it's a one, now you have a one-person company option as well. But if it's a proprietorship, it's slightly more difficult. We registered the company, as a private limited company from the get-go. And that meant that the liabilities were limited by the number of shares we held. And my shareholding was initially 50%, and then I increased it to 70% odd. So I think I'm still around the 60-70% mark, which means that I have the controlling share of the company. So I have the controlling equity, and nobody can really throw me out unless I was okay with that. So legally, it's much easier than it is probably emotionally or culture-wise. Does that make sense?
Yes, that answered. Thank you, Arja.
Cool. You're welcome. Srividya, I think we're good to go with wrapping up.
Yeah, I guess. Yes. So thank you so much, ma'am, for spending your valuable time and sharing your insights with us. The session was indeed an eye opener. So, as a token of our immense gratitude, we would like to present to you with a virtual memento.
Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. Do I get this sent to me?
Yes, ma'am, we'll mail it to you.
Perfect. Thank you. That means a lot. That's lovely. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Once again, thank you so much for this wonderful session. On behalf of We Kerala section, it was truly invaluable. So I would also like to thank Meenakshi, ma'am, for providing us with an opportunity to conduct this session. Thank you, ma'am, for your constant support. So,
Yeah, thank you, Srividya. And one word from me, it was really good because hearing from the person who have established something and how you have sailed your way from beginning of the company to this end, it was really interesting. I hope the young generation who have joined, they would have got something to carry back the experience. It was really nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, Atla. It was really indeed, as Meenakshi ma'am conveyed, it was really splendid session for us. We had a nice interaction too. In fact, we are looking for such sessions wherein people are opening up, like what are the other sides in starting a firm. Being an entrepreneur, you shared everything, and indeed it was a really eye opener for all. Thank you for coming up for this event for Kerala section. We are very grateful for you. Thank you.
My pleasure entirely. I wish you all the best. And as I've mentioned in the chat, the best place to get me and reach me is LinkedIn. I usually check my messages at least 2 or 3 times a week. So I will respond fastest there. Just so you guys know. Thank you once again.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you so
Take
much.
care. All the best.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all.